When Albert Reitz went out to mow his lawn, the last thing he expected was that the ground would cave beneath him. It turns out Albert and the rest of his neighbors were living on top of a sinkhole. Even more surprising was what the hole lead to underground. Before we start, can we get this video to 1,000 likes? Please hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. It was a day like any other in Black Hawk, South Dakota. Resident Albert Reitz was out mowing his lawn like he had so many times before. Then something happened that changed everything. When Albert turned around, he could hardly believe his eyes. Only a foot behind him was the beginning of a giant sinkhole that had caved out of nowhere. What does one do when their property collapses into a sinkhole? What Albert did was bolt to the neighbor's house. He knocked on the door of John Trudeau, who had also been experiencing some unusual happenings. John had already suspected something was amiss that morning because the faucet had suddenly stopped working. Albert's story was enough to make this an official emergency. John's wife hurriedly called 911. As it turns out, they weren't the only neighbors impacted. When the authorities arrived, they moved quickly to get everyone to safety. This meant evaluating the sinkhole and quickly moving out people who were within an unsafe range. That's when they discovered that the sinkhole near Albert's home wasn't the only one. Another sinkhole appeared right across the street. Right away, 6 families were evacuated. That number would double once the experts determined the cause of the sinkholes. But finding that answer didn't require officers, it required cavers. When caver Adam Weaver heard about what had happened to the neighborhood, he volunteered to check it out. Adam is a part of Paasapa Grotto, a subchapter of the National Speleological Society, ACA, people who study caves. When he arrived with his team, they soon discovered that they weren't over their heads. When Adam and the rest of the Paasapa Grotto team inched their way in the sinkhole, they quickly realized that it wasn't at all what they'd expected. They came to find out that hole led to an abandoned gypsum mine. The mine was more than 600 feet long and still had drilling holes and mining gear in it. Adam told the Rapid City Journal, "I really never imagined that when we went back down there, it would be that big." It had first opened in the 1920s and had closed 3 decades later. Still, there remained old items, such as a mining handcart. They also found bones, which Adam's wife, a paleontologist, confirmed belonged to a calf. Even though Adam is the vice president of the National Speleological Society, he was hesitant to continue exploring once he realized it was a mine. He told Hagerty, "We really don't do mines. We explore caves." The crew at Paasapa Grotto carefully made their way further into the mine, making incredible discoveries along the way. As interesting as all of the findings the team was making were, they were also items to be expected in an abandoned mine: old tools, animal remains, deteriorating wood. Then they spotted something that made everyone stop in their tracks. There was a car hanging down from the top of the mine. It was wedged between rocks and appeared to have fallen into a hole from the surface. The group was amazed to see such a thing in the mine and started speculating about what happened. The team conjured up 2 possibilities regarding how the Ford got there. The first is that the car fell into the mine after it had closed due to a sinkhole. The second is that it had been there the whole time. It could have belonged to one of the workers and ended up getting trapped in the mine. The team ended up stumbling upon another one. Adam confirmed that there was also a truck in the mine, adding that it was even older than the car. The truck was positioned nose down and too inaccessible to photograph. As incredible as the group's findings were, they had to get down to business and accomplish what they went there to do: map the mine. They measured 2,300 linear feet of passages, and that's just where they were able to reach. There were still other tunnels that had collapsed or flooded, and therefore couldn't be mapped. They also found some tunnels to be upwards of 40 feet wide. The ceilings ranged from 12 to 30 feet tall. While the mine investigation led to some answers, there was still plenty of information needed to uncover how all this happened. That's where Doug Huntrods came in, the emergency manager from Meade County, where Black Hawk is located. At a press conference, Doug revealed that the Dakota Plaster Company had owned the mine. This makes perfect sense, considering that gypsum is commonly used in plaster. John Trudeau, the neighbor who Albert Reitz ran to when his lawn caved in, brought up a question that many of the neighbors are likely pondering. Did the developers know and turn a blind eye? The question of who is responsible is especially crucial since insurance companies are refusing to cover the damage or to pay for the cost of the lost home. Both John and Albert reported that this was the case for their insurance companies, who simply told them that their policies don't cover underground sinkholes. As a result, many of the displaced families had turned to GoFundMe to try and raise money to at least help make ends meet for the time being. Meade County did make an effort to get funds from the Federal Emergency Management Agency FEMA to help the families that no longer had their homes. However, these discouraged residents have still included county officials in their lawsuit. That's because public records indicate the Meade County Planning Board knew of the mine's existence when they approved the neighborhood development. The lawsuit is also aimed at the state, real estate agents, and developers, all of whom should have been made aware of the dangers. The mine not only posed a risk for the neighborhood, but also for a nearby interstate. As a result, engineers had to inspect I-90 to ensure that there wasn't threat of sinkholes near the highway. After inspecting 1,500 feet of the road and 60 feet underneath, the experts confirmed that the road is safe from the underground mine. Now that the road is handled, the county can put their full attention toward the residents and deciding what to do about this surprising find.